Good morning. Hello. Hope everyone can wake up this morning and be happy. I don't know how else to say that. I'm doing this series of videos on what I consider to be linchpins and what's wrong with the world. And yesterday, even though it was a weird intro, the video was about fear and how to recognize what the fears fall into and categorize them, therefore making them into a pie chart and being able to work on them piece at a time until there's no more fear. And I feel like, although no one's seen the video yet, it's going to matter later. It's going to matter in the long run. And the long run is way more important than any instant gratification, confirmation. It's about creating and seeing that something needs to be created. And I just don't think I have the face for Hollywood. I'm sorry. You know? But I don't know anybody else that I could just share the message with, and then they'd make a video and they'd, get the views and all the things like, yeah, you just put up with me. So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects. And this subject absolutely triggers one of the linchpins, which is fear. And I'm going to show you how they tie together today. I'm going to show you the correlations and why it matters. And we're just going to keep building on this vibration until there's so many layers to it that it starts to affect how you view things. And I don't want you to have my view, because my view is only my view. I can only tell you how I see it. But if I share with you new views and you take those views and you can come up with anything that isn't my view, together we have created something that's never been seen before. So today we talk about greed. It's weird. Greed. Greed, it doesn't exist. It's an abstract noun. Do any of you understand what an abstract noun is? It's like your feelings. You can make a conversation, have words that connect it so everybody understands it, but it doesn't actually exist. It's only a chemical reaction that makes you view the world through a certain vibration. It's like this big. It's like that big. That many molecules through your whole body, right? But this need to have. There's a few ways this happens. Don't think I don't understand psychology. Don't worry about the cover of the book. There's this need to fill up a hole within ourselves that we don't understand how to fill. You think greed's a terrible thing. Have you ever seen somebody from like another country like watched a video and they never had sugar before and they try sugar for the first time? Have you ever seen the mental, physical, and emotional reaction on a person that's never had chocolate before? Have you ever taken the time to? You should. I encourage you to go and watch some kind of video in relation to this. Unfortunately, for most of us, where we live in a digitalized world, people understand how to trigger. Some people call it low vibration, some people call it being negative, some people they trigger this experience to where you feel like you have to have, or that other fear comes in. See, the whole trifecta of fears, all three of them are used to produce greed. Greed is a byproduct of fear mongering. Did you watch when COVID went through and everybody got really afraid and everybody bought all the toilet paper? I have factual case studies that you should go and research, such as the thing I just mentioned, to look at the ripples of what fear mongering can cause. And I know a bunch of people, you lost people, and I understand all of those things. It still killed 1.9% of everybody that got it, and everybody got it. And 1.9% of a million people, that'd be a lot of people, but what is it, 3.2 billion people in the world? Some people never even realized we had COVID because the government didn't think that they absolutely needed to get COVID, and they can think whatever they want. But I understand the psyops when I understand the psyops. And the fear of lack caused so many people to act not like themselves in that fear. And I don't blame nobody. That was scary. It was scary. But that's what capitalism is. You're not good enough if you don't own this. If you don't have these health insurances, you're not going to die right. If you don't work hard, we'll take from you what you've paid for because you didn't continue to pay us to keep it. All three fears. And the harder greed runs, the more control they have over how people act. It's very predictable when you get somebody in fear to understand what it is they're going to do next based on self interest. And mostly that self interest is connected with the group that not only understands its dynamic, but it encourages cutthroat people to rise, to control more people. It's why what people consider wealth are so unevenly distributed through people that are all this level, but the belief, the belief is what has created the reality. Greed. Greed's crazy. And a lot of people have taken greed to a soul level and want to control people. They're greedy for power, the power over other human beings, to act like a mini creator, to be able to manipulate people, good people, into being the worst versions of themselves. And then, once it gets exposed, those good people then feel contaminated, accept that vibration into themselves, and then they lower their own vibration in the situation. Can you love the person you hate most? And if it's yourself, you've got a lot of shadow work to do. But if it's, can you hate someone in a way that it's only love? And then through that lens of hate, which is love, you make decisions based on truth. Mm-hmm. So basically, and this goes back to like the cowboy days, right? When they were trying to bring electricity and everything in, and everybody had horses, and like, where the fuck would I need any of that shit? Oh, you can just be leisure, and that was the point. The Industrial Revolution was the point, and it worked amazingly. And it works at such a large scale that they're able to gloss over anything that makes it look like it's not working. Anything. So greed. I don't know if you understand that greed is simply a product of fears. It's manufactured. When you're in your own space and you're doing good, everything's running right, bills are paid, you're just you're there, right? It's I'm satisfied, I'm so happy, I'm so grateful for what I have. That feeling, and I don't know if any of you guys experienced it, and if you have, you know exactly what I mean. Like, my life is so good. I am so happy. I am so grateful. I just, how could you top this? And you've got that feeling, and it's momentary. That's what the whole point is that it's permanent. You can make it permanent, but because it's not permanent, you constantly get into these other things based on fear. Fear pushes you off of that feeling, and you're afraid that if you don't do all of these things, you can't find that feeling. Right? Am I wrong here? Maybe. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. So we get greedy. We get greedy for a feeling, for an emotion that it gives us. And instead of finding joy and happiness in everything, we start focusing on the few things that gave us that dopamine and the serotonins and the things that just was like, man, I can't tell you how much fun I had. We were doing this thing and blah, 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 blah. But you're supposed to have that same joy talking down to yourself in the mirror because you're doing shadow work. You're supposed to have that same joy working an 8-hour shift at a dead end job just so you can pay the bills. Like, that joy is the only thing they care that you don't have. They can make anything that you want physically. They have machines to make it for you. It all says made in China, doesn't it? And if it's made in America, it's made from a big factory. And even the smaller people, their whole dream is to get to a factory and have a factory producing their product. Greed is a tool that's being used to suppress humanity. And all of us are susceptible to this. All of us. There's no exceptions. There's only conscious understanding that it's happening to you. Conscious understanding that there's more to this than what they say life is. So, how do we defeat greed within ourselves? Excuse the many facial expressions. There's a lot of laughter behind how I feel about this and the entire lesson as a whole, only because of how many times I've had to reteach myself that things don't matter. Not even circumstances, not other people. Like, literally, it's gonna be okay. Everything's fine. And I had to lose everything I've ever loved at least 10 times for my personal journey. But check it out. Because I took the hard road and found a path that nobody looked at, right? And I was like, oh, I'm just a trailblaze at. And they're like, clear up the road. And I'm like, barely 10 feet into the shrubs and I'm still headed my own. And they're like, bro, you're never cutting into that jungle. And I'm like, listen, I'm going to keep going this way. And I'm going to keep cutting. And eventually I think there's a temple over here. And I'm going to sit down and I'm going to find me some jewels. They're like, bro, the interstate's like 5 miles that way. It's just kind of dense forest. You ain't finding a fucking thing. You're just going to be stuck for days. We're going to finish the hike and go home. And you call us when you get to the highway and we'll come pick you up. That's my kind of trailblazer. And then I found the temple. Don't worry about it. But for you as a human being, for you as however you identify, for you as you feel you only exist in your mind, to all these versions of you, whether you know they exist or not. Replace greed with gratitude. I swear to God. Anytime you want, be grateful for what you have instead. I know this sounds like the most backwards thing. I need to, nope, just, why don't you just be happy you got that right there? Just be super actually happy about it and hold on to it. And you're like, fuck you. I need this over here. My life's going to end. Well, okay, so let's wake up tomorrow and you don't have it. Did your life end? Did you die? Did you die? No. No, you're agitated because a creature comfort isn't where it's supposed to be at. Well, that's a more fair assessment of the situation, and I don't have a lot of sympathy for that. You need heat. I get it. Lights are getting turned off. I get it. What the fuck are you doing living in a lifestyle that doesn't support your ability to turn the lights on? And I got to be honest with you, and this is coming from somebody that's a knucklehead who sat around more than one campfire in his life. Let me tell you what, and has lived in more than one tent in his life. Let me explain this to you. Your complaints that you'd have to cook over an open campfire or use blankets for warmth, I'm not listening to it. There's kids laying in the street dying right now all across the world while people are doing wars for money. So much money has been moved around because of these wars. So many pretend assets have been fucking transferred back and forth to create new assets to cover up the fact that we're almost out of assets and we're about to blow up. And now that all this new money's here and there's new money coming in that say fucking printed for you to compete over, the economy will continue for a little while longer. Blech. Greed. To be able to control entire nations of people. That's the problem. You know, if you're just a human being, you want to be greedy, and the person next to you has the right to punch you in the mouth if you get greedy or get weird or start acting in such a way that you become toxic. It doesn't have to be physically, maybe they just verbally let you know how it is. But in a world like that, bro, just changing that mentality towards greed, hey, no, I get it. You got ahead. You're doing good. But no, you don't get to do that. You know how many people get fucked up just so you can do that? Do you know how many different fucking acres of land got fucked up so you could have your idea? Do you realize how many people are fucking starving right now because you needed to make an extra $1,000 every time you turned around, and 6 other people could have split that $1,000? I think the reason that greed is so rampant is so many people have given up trying to understand how and why, and like, you can put band-aids on things, but how do you combat the actual, where do you sew it up at? Gratitude. You know what happens? A bunch of people get grateful for what they have. They start looking around at other people and going, oh fuck, you know, I got plenty and that person can probably have a little bit, and you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. And then somehow, and I promise you, I will argue to the death, and I guarantee not one person ever is going to make a comment, so that didn't work for me. If so, it's because you pray and you work with the weirdest shit, and that's a you problem. You're negative as shit, and it's not my fault magic doesn't work for you. That the version of magic that you understand, the concepts and the way that you practice and you go about things, it's so far below truth that doesn't work. You know what does work though? Saying thank you. Please and thank you. I don't know how else to express to you how quickly your life will overflow if you're grateful for what you have. If you're grateful for what you have, then you realize as much as you have, somebody else has less. And if you wanted to, you could just help them just a little bit, even if it's just to be like, you're all right, bro. Thank you for existing. Even that, because your heart's overflowing and you want to share with somebody that feeling. We're not even talking about physical. The fucking emotional state of gratitude is wanting to give. I want to share this good news and this good feeling. I want to give it to someone else because I'm so grateful that I feel like this.